Right guys and girls, this is a long playing review for Operation Wolf on the Amstrad CPC, released by Ocean Software in 1988. Now some of you with good memories will say, hang on Zypho, didn't you already make a long play video of Operation Wolf? And yes, you will be correct in that. It was on my earliest long plays, but it didn't have any review or commentary and was rendered in glorious 240p. And looks very blurry, distorted and low quality today, of course. So it's time at last to give this game the coverage it deserves on this channel. But today we're playing a special version of the game. The official version, unfortunately, sadly shipped with several bugs related to scoring and the number of hostages to rescue. The 1 million points bonus on completing the game and rescuing some hostages is never applied. Also, the game tells you to rescue 5 hostages, but only 4 appear. So Nicholas Nish Campbell of the cpcgamereviews.com website fixed all of these bugs in a patch disc with a cheat mode. There was also a release from Music Man 3512 that added in the Arnie Commando style intro from the arcade version. So Nish, for me, and now you guys, has kindly put together both his and Music Man's version for us to use today, and it will be soon be available on the cpcpower.com website for you to download and play for yourself. Anyway, first let's look at and talk about the arcade original of this very famous game, so we have it as a point of comparison. So here we are, booting up the arcade coin op, and what a cabinet that is. And I think Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando was a bit of an inspiration here. In fact, they even have the word Commando in big letters at the top of the arcade flyer there.
Operation
There you go, you can see the Uzi mounted on the arcade cabinet there. So yeah, Operation Wolf is of course a light gun shooter coin op and was released into the arcades in 1987 by Taito. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyway, to me and many others, this is often the first proper light gun game that we remember. Unless you were Japanese or American and had Duck Hunt on the NES. Because it was a massive success and it was in arcades everywhere up and down the country. And it also won the Golden Joystick Award for Game of the Year and was one of the highest grossing coin ops of 1988. It spawned several sequels in Operation Thunderbolt, Operation Wolf 3, and I didn't know about this one until recently, Operation Tiger. And of course, plenty of imitators of 2. Now, this is described as being on rails. The screen is always moving and scrolling consistently in one direction, and you have no control over your movement, only where you are shooting in a first-person perspective, with enemies literally shooting at you through the screen. With that cool-looking Uzi submachine gun mounted to the cabinet. It even has some rudimentary feedback on the actual Uzi. And there's a little red button on the side to launch one of your grenades. Otherwise, squeeze the trigger and mow down hundreds of baddies like your Arnie in Commando. Now, to clear a level, you have to kill or destroy a set number of soldiers, jeeps, helicopters or boats, which you can see on the right hand column. I think we've got one more soldier to kill here. And there you go. Wrapping around that to the left is the vertical damage bar, and when that's full to the top of red, it's game over. Put another credit in to continue. There are 6 stages to clear, with the last 2 having 5 hostages appear that you must not shoot and have at least 1 escape to progress. The final level at the end actually has a giant, heavily armed chopper as a kind of a final boss. However, a lot of the conversions are missing this, sadly. And here we are on the jungle level. And I think that will do for the arcade footage for now. I think that's given you enough to see and compare when we get the Amstrad version up now. And I've always loved the artwork by the late great Bob Wakelin here. And according to Simon Butler, I spoke to, Bob photographed his mates with toy guns as a basis for his brilliant art here. And Ocean were very proud of the Amstrad version, often using its screenshots on its adverts for the game. And that went to multi-format magazines. So yeah, that's good stuff. Anyway, let's get this booted up. And we are going to see the new intro sequence made by Music Man here. He's done us a very, very nice Ocean logo. And we're about to see the Arnie Commando style intro that the arcade had. And there it is. It all went by very quickly though, sadly. And we get the Operation Wolf logo in full there. Nice. And that ends Music Man's contribution to this new dump of the game. And we move on to Nish's dump, which is got a cheat mode, but also fixes some significant bugs in the game. Of course, we're not going to enable any cheats here, and we're starting on level 1. And that's a very nice loading screen as well. That is the original loading screen. Here we are on the title screen, and we've got a nice tune, as always, by Jonathan Dunn here. Albeit quite a short tune, because it loops round about now. And just loops and loops. A shame, really. I would have liked to hear more of a tune here, but still very, very memorable. And we actually get the credits here, the people behind the game on the title screen. So we've got coding by Andrew Deacon and graphics by Ivan Horn, and of course music sound effects Jonathan Dunn. All three of them often work together as a team at Ocean on Amstrad games. There's plenty between them. And there was like these little clusters of teams at Ocean, especially for the Amstrad. Like you had Mike Lamb working with Dawn Drake a lot on, like, for example, RoboCop, Target Renegade, etc. And then there was like James Higgins and others working in like little clusters. Well, in this cluster, with Andrew Deacon coding, you had him doing the coder graphics by Ivan Horn on Operation Thunderbolt, Rambo 3, Renegade 3, RoboCop 2, Total Recall, and the Addams Family. Ivan, though, also did graphics work on the Vindicator, Combat School, and Arcanide Revenger Duh. And as for Jonathan Dunn, here's another great tune here by him. He also did, of course, the famous RoboCop music, and also went on to do Burning Rubber, Dragon Ninja, WC Le Mans, New Zealand Story, Untouchables, etc. Oh, look, we got the nice map screen here, which is actually missing from some versions, but it's here on the Amstrad one, and off we go! Ah, look how gloriously colourful this is. And look how fast it moves as well. If you remember the arcade original we looked at just a minute ago, this is moving a lot faster. Just use a grenade there. Yes, you start with, I think, 8 magazines and 5 grenades. Try and save your grenades as much as possible. You don't get many spawning. There's one. You get some items at the bottom of the screen there you can shoot to pick up. So we just shot a grenade and pick that up. Oh, the P there is restore your health, and that's dynamite that blows up everything on the screen. Now, I think the dynamite in most versions only affects a small radius around it, but on the Amstrad version, it tends to blow everything up. Now, try and save the grenades when I've got like about 2 helicopters on the screen, if I can. But I use it there. And don't hold down the fire button. Just try and do controlled bursts, because you can very quickly run out of ammunition. There we go. Clear the scene. Bonus $10,000. And we get a little bit of energy restored to us, or damage taken off us, at the end of a level and start of another one. And we move on to the jungle level. So this was released in time for Christmas 1988. And I have very fond memories of opening my Christmas presents on Christmas morning 1988 and coming across Operation Wolf. And I was just like, oh, this looks so cool from the box art. I was a very, very happy boy. And I was even happier when I played it, because this was bloody brilliant. Especially for 1988. And this was far beyond a lot of the games I had on my Amstrad at the time. So yeah, we only get a slight recovery of health at the end of the level. But after completing the village level on level 3, you get all your energy replenished. And then we've got level 4, which is strangely named the Powder Magazine stage, which replenishes all your ammo and grenades. Now, on the arcade version, sometimes before the jungle level, you get like a mini level appear where it goes, you have been detected, or the warning the enemy has located you. And you have a single screen that isn't moving, and you have to take out either a bunch of helicopters or a bunch of soldiers before you can actually start the second level. That Doesn't appear on most of the versions I've played of the Operation Wolf. But yeah. And I think there's like, oh yes, there's a boss fight against a giant helicopter at the end of the arcade version on the very final level, which again is also missing in most of the versions, including the Amstrad one. But there's a heck of a lot they've crammed in here. But I love the graphics. I think the sprites are really, really nicely done. Really bold, bright and colourful. Absolutely stunning graphics, I think, anyway. Wow, this is filling up with bad guys. Oh, of course, yeah, there are civilians that you don't want to shoot and kill. There's like a villager lady that appears on this level that walks backwards and forwards a lot, so she gets quite annoying. But yeah, and of course this game came out in an era of games before it, like Commando, Greenberry and Ikari Warriors, with big action films at the cinemas such as Rambo 2 and Commando out. So it was inevitable, oh there's the villager, so it was inevitable that a game like this would eventually arrive with Operation Wolf. And Operation Wolf was arguably the first and the best to encompass all that. And it was a perfect storm, the right timing, appearing in the arcades just right, and it was a massive, massive success, as was this conversion. So, what else do we have to talk about? Well, the other versions of the game. Let's have a little talk about them then. So, the ZX Spectrum version. That's a good conversion by the same team who did the CPC one. It plays actually slightly faster than the Amstrad version, but it's in monochrome, only 2 colours, and I think that's a big issue, as it's much harder to spot enemies, and also doesn't look anywhere near as good. And the Spectrum version is missing the operation map before each level, but it does have the Arnie cutscene that we've now added in. The Commodore 64 version. I absolutely hate the movement of the crosshair in that version, and I hate even more the crosshair completely almost disappearing when you fire, to be replaced by a splatter of a few white pixels. At least when you shoot in the Amstrad version, you get like the orangey ready sort of fire thing. And it's really off-putting, and it's really hard to aim precisely. And I think there's some like really nasty collision detection issues. And annoyingly, grenades have a very small radius. The sound of music is a little disappointing for having the SID chip there, and graphics are a little bit basic, but okay. Apparently, there is a mouse version, which I can't get working in my emulator, which I'm told is better, but I'm kind of dubious. This also appeared on the MSX, and it's not bad at all. For once, it's not a dirty specky port, and it's much better for it. The graphics are kind of weak, but it plays okay, and sounds and music are decent. This appeared on the NES, and it works both with the NES Zapper light gun and also the control pad. I'm told, though, it is horrible with the Zapper because of needing to fire rapidly, so it really hurts your trigger finger. But on the control pad, it's okay, quite playable. But with below average graphics for the NES, and I got to the final level on my first go, so it might be a little bit too easy. This also appeared on the Sega Master System. It's a really good conversion. Again, like the NES, you could use a light gun called the phaser, like what we got on the Amstrad, or use a control pad. And I find the cursor movement with a pad not as good as the NES, sadly. But it has vastly better graphics and presentation. On this level here, we've got hostages to rescue, and they appear looking like sort of hairy brown bears. There's one moving across the screen there. I'm not quite sure what's going on with the sprite there and why they're all in brown. They look like they're furry bears or something like that. It's a bit weird. There's another one. And there's 4 of them to rescue. And on this bug fix version, you can see there it correctly tells you now to rescue 4 rather than 5, as the official release gave us. Other versions of games, so we got this also appeared on the TurboGrafx 16 and PC Engine, and it's an excellent port. It looks like the arcade, almost perfect arcade port. Pretty hard though, especially with manoeuvring the crosshair, and I think the CPC and Specky did the crosshair movement better. We also had it on the Atari ST, and wow, is that really laggy and slow with horrible hit detection, and it's almost unplayable. It has muted colours in the graphics as well. And on the Amiga, it got an ST port. It has slightly better music, but that's it. You could play it on Amiga 1200 for it to be faster, but it just makes the game impossible. We also got a port to the PC DOS. That's the only version I haven't played. Graphics-wise, in terms of sprites and backgrounds, is very close to the arcade, but with just really nasty colours. It's a bit choppy and laggy by the looks of it, with naff sound effects. It's still better than the Amiga and ST versions. And the best for last, the port to the FM Towns Marty. Wow, this is pretty much arcade perfect. Although it adds in some bizarre music from the CD on levels, which doesn't really fit. Except I found it a lot easier than the coin up, and I completed it on my first go. But the FM Towns by far has the best version. And I'm going to say that the Amstrad had the best home computer version. And the Sega Master System had the best 8-bit console port. And then it's tough to choose between the Amstrad and the Master System one, which is better. But here we are on the final level. And the 4 hostages we rescued on the previous level will now appear on this one as they run across the runway into the back of that plane there. There they are. There's one. Thank you, he says. And then the little guy in the bottom right corner jumps up and down for joy. Bless. So yes, we mentioned that there was versions with light guns, and the Amstrad had a light gun version of Operation Wolf 2. I own it. I have the Magnum light phaser gun with the disc, and I was hoping I could get some real life footage of me playing it just to see how it works. But alas, my disc drive on my CPC 6128 packed up on me and has died. And of course, the light gun only plugs into old edge connectors, so I can't use it on the 6128 Plus. So I'll get that sorted, and I'll do a video of it for the Am Squad on Patreon. Oh, we're very close to the end here now. 20 soldiers and 3 helicopters to go. And we'll sum up a review in a little bit as well. There we go. Just one more helicopter, and then 9 soldiers left. 7, 6, 5, 4. We've got 1 bit of damage left. Can we do it? Just did it. This game is still tough and gives me a right challenge even to this day. And I've played it hundreds, if not thousands, of times. And there we go. Now we see there we get a bonus of $100,000. Or points. Now, in the official version, that doesn't get applied to your score on the final high score table, but this has been fixed. A successful getaway. You rescued 4 hostages. You are a real pro. Now, in the arcade version, it just tells you after that, now continue the game, and it loops around even harder. On the Amstrad one, it goes back to the high score table, and the game is beaten. There you go. So magazine reviews at the time. Now this was reviewed in the Christmas 1988 issue 40 of Amstrad Action magazine, and they gave it a glowing review. To be honest, they didn't really go into the pros and cons of the game at all much, so it's hard to see how they got to their final rating, but they scored graphics at 94%. You can see my score's been applied there, 300,000 rather than 200,000, so that's the bug fix. Thank you, Nish. They gave the Sonic 75%, grab factor 95%, staying power 88%, with an overall AA rating of 89%, giving it an AA Rave Award. I would have thought this should have scored... hang on. In my opinion, this is definitely a 90% a game. Easily a 9 out of 10 from me, if not 9.5. I mean, what more could you expect from an arcade conversion of Operation Wolf to the Amstrad? Honestly, I think this is one of the best arcade conversions on the Amstrad or any 8-bit home computer of the era. And it's deserving of more praise. And I think this goes under the radar a lot on a lot of, like, I don't know, people's top 20 lists of best Amstrad games or whatever, or if there's a discussion of what's the best games on the Amstrad. Operation Wolf doesn't get mentioned enough. Maybe it's because it's the type of game. It's a little bit mindless and violent. Yeah, but I think it's deserving of more praise. especially given how tricky it is to move from a light gun to a moving a crosshair around with joystick and keys. This type of game might not be to everyone's taste though, I guess, but even if it's not to yours, you have to respect what they did here. And I think the main thing is getting that crosshair moving around smoothly around the screen at the right speed and pace, and I think they did it perfectly here. Honestly, I don't think they could have done a better job. And once the coder is cracked, moving that crosshair moving smoothly at the right speed and velocity and inertia or whatever, if you can crack that, you've got a good light gun style game. So I think Ocean and Andrew Deacon did a fantastic job here. Ivan did a great job on the graphics, and great tunes and sound effects from the great Jonathan Dunn as always. So yeah guys, actually screw it, I'm going to give this 9.5 out of 10. I don't know how it could have been better, to be honest. Perhaps just added a few more bits that the arcade had, with like the there was like a couple of extra levels, maybe have the final boss helicopter or whatever, and then it would have got a 10 out of 10 from me. So let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Goodbye.
So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click a like below, leave a comment, and also subscribe if you haven't already. And over that way, there's another video for you to check out. Zypho, out.